board, but I just want to share that mine is in honor of Charlene Archibald and in memory of Dr. Ken Hannaford.
Mine is for Don Brenner and Bruce Mayhall.
So seriously, those of you who are giving, think about who it is that you want to honor, because that will be in perpetuity. At every event that we have, that wall of honor will be displayed, and it's not going away. At this time, it's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Edith Copley, who is a Regents Professor and Director of Choral Studies at Northern Arizona University, where she conducts the highly acclaimed Shrine of the Ages Choir, teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in conducting and graduate choral literature. NAU choral ensembles under her direction have performed at regional, state, and national ACDA and NAFME conferences, Carnegie Hall, and all around the world. Prior to her appointment at NAU, she was the Fine Arts Coordinator at the American International School in Vienna, Austria. During her doctoral studies at the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati, she conducted the Women's Chorus, taught undergraduate conducting. She also serves as the Assistant and Interim Principal Conductor of the May Festival Chorus, preparing works for Robert Shaw, James Conlon, and Eric Kunzel. Dr. Copley has received numerous honors, including Arizona ACDA Outstanding Choral Director Award, the Viola Award for Outstanding Achievement in Music in Flagstaff, and the Centennial Teacher of the Year Award. Dr. Copley is an active member of NAFME, Chorus America, and the National Collegiate Choral Organization, and has served the American Choral Directors Association in various capacities over the last 20 years, including President of Western Division and Arizona State President. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor, and in fact, you're going to love Edith Copley.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here. I've heard about ECCO for so many years and have always wanted to come to ECCO. And it's my pleasure to have had this special invitation to be here. And to be here with so many friends and colleagues that I've known over the years, served on boards with, and done all kinds of things together. And I just am so very appreciative. I also want to do some very special thanks to Genevieve, who did so much work in preparation for this, and such a fabulous communicator with me, and so tolerant and so patient and with me. And so, can you please I want to get to the topic at hand, but the topic is warming up to each other. And it's not just doing some warm-ups, which we're going to do tonight, is sing through some music, because that's what we're here for. But I thought, yes, you've heard all about the stuff that I do as a teacher at the university, but, I just wanted to share with you that I had no idea that this is what my life would bring, because I grew up on a small little farm in eastern Iowa, and I started playing piano when I was 8, and I sang in the choir in high school, and I played clarinet in the band. God, I hated clarinet. I really wanted to play oboe, because, the oboe tunes the whole orchestra. But they were rented, and my parents couldn't afford it, so we just going to stay with clarinet. But I played French horn in the pep band, and then my junior year I switched to string bass, and I learned how to play string bass, and played that in the concert band my last couple of years. But then I had the wonderful privilege to go to Luther College, and I studied for 4 years with Weston Noble, who is 92 years old, and still, he's doing this coming weekend, not this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, is doing an alumni choir, on the Luther campus this week. And this will be his last alumni choir. I saw him at my reunion this past fall, and he's doing well. This is just like what Rob and Lou have talked about, we are the product of everyone we've studied with. We are. And we are the product of the people we work with. And we are the product of the people we see here, the colleagues that we have an opportunity to work with. And that's why these conferences are so important. And that's why that scholarship is so important, so that as many people as possible can come to this. I don't know, there's a phrase that says if you take something from one, like in academia, take something from one person, it's like plagiarism. But if you take stuff from many, it's research. So everything that I have learned is that product. And you know what? This is an ACDA, California ACDA event. And my first ACDA conference was in 1977. And it was in Dallas, Texas. And I had been teaching a few years by that time. And I didn't know what ACDA was. And somebody said, hey, there's an ACDA, and there's a choral thing that's happening in Dallas. So I went by myself. I didn't know anybody else. I went by myself and flew to Dallas, Texas. And I saw Howard Swan present. I heard Frank Pooler's choir from Long Beach. I heard Elaine Brown's choir, the Singing City Choir from Philadelphia. The keynote speaker at that conference was Samuel Barber. So I came back and I went, wow, this ACDA thing is really something, you know? And so I started going after that to the ICDA in Iowa. And it's like ECCO, but it's just like this. It's like in a retreat kind of thing. It's like at a community college, but it's like 300 people, and it's like one big party, you know. And so when I asked about ECCO, they didn't talk about too much except it's one big party. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be great. It's going to remind me of ICDA, and so it's great to be here in California. So warming up to each other. I like Richard Miller for several years on the NAU campus. You know, I've been teaching at NAU. I can't believe this. I'm starting my 26th year at NAU, and we were fortunate for about 5 years in a row. Richard Miller would come to our campus every summer and do vocal workshops. And as being on the choral faculty, they said, oh yeah, just come in. And so I'd come in and sit in with all of Richard Miller's things. And I've listed on your handout his approach, the bel canto approach. Nice forward-placed vowels, flexible mouth position, but not overextended. This is something that we see all the time in choral music. Make sure you're, really low vowels. And so we end up going, oh, and here's F. The sound goes back, the placement goes. So you don't necessarily have to do as much, remember this, the 3 fingers? So lots of singing in the head, top-down singing from above, and all of this is for many of you is review, but so many new teachers are in the room, and so I figure as much as I can give, I will try to give you. So this head-down singing, nice free vibrato, using, vibrato confirming the pitch, not confusing it. A nice even color, a nice ring. Like all the people, like people that make major money, they're singing at the Met. There's something about the voice that has this wonderful continuity in the whole range. You know what I'm talking about? It's just all even. It all sounds gorgeous and beautiful. I think that's what we need to work for in our singers, is that wonderful singer's ring and with nice freedom. And of course, the key to all of that is breathing. So stand up. Here we go. Let's start warming up, gang. This is all about our singing this week. Nice stretch. Here we go. I saw Yosemite for the first time in my life today. the warm-up is getting your focus, right? Because that's what you're doing in rehearsal, hoping they're watching his mind. It's awesome. There's a glass of air. Take a drink. Another glass. Let's practice for later. A D flat major. Buzzing lips. And up 5, down 5, up 5, down 5, 3 times. Ready? 2, ready, spin. I'm sorry. 1, 2, go. Spin the other way. Inhale, do you hear the inhale? It's like there was a fire today. You know, kind of like that noisy breath, okay? See if you can make it a little warmer, a little lower, okay? Now I want you to notice spinning your hands out and spinning your hands in. I think a lot of times when we do, I love doing this for freedom, especially up here, you know, doing this. But a lot of times when you're doing this kind of thing, you expel the air out quicker. And I learned this from Steve Bilkey. And he's past president of the North Central Division, Minnesota. And what he did is spin your hand in and be thinking, the air's not going out. The air's just going in as you're singing. It keeps you in that inspiratory position the whole time. You know what I mean? So you're not thinking, oh, there goes my air, there goes my air. Okay, so here we go, ready? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, take a breath. And she did a session at the National ACDA in Salt Lake City. She said, when you're teaching and working with older adults, how many of you have a community choir? And you have people that are in their 60s and the 70s and so on, some of you have older, a church choir. There we go. So one of the best exercises you can do with them is this sustained V. Can you not just pick any pitch you want and just do a few of those, take a breath when you need it. Ready? Go. A minute every day. It will strengthen the vocal folds and it really helps your older singers. Let's try it again. Ready? And breathe. Okay, I don't either use it at all, or if I use it, I only give octaves. I just give what key are we in. Okay? So let's start in E flat, and we're going to go on knee. And we're going to and we're going to place everything in that thing. And use, as my handout says, use these voice consonants to start. So let's do the first one on knee. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, knee, and open fifth. Now let's try again and see if we can just use your hand and spin your hand like we said a minute ago, like this lift up here. We don't want it heavy. 1, we're descending. Don't put weight. Tim Stalter, Iowa. When you're going up, you drop luggage. When you're going down, you pick the luggage up and like 1 on tippy toes. Okay, ready? 1, 2, ready, and. exercises that we use up or register things. But one of the things in nice middle voice is to use a frisbee throw. So we're going to go like, just go, whoo, go. Whoo! Now we'll do the choreographic thing we just did, and we're going to go, whoo, 1 and go. Around your whiteboard so that you can literally point to these things using IPA. And so many students come in and they, it's AW and EE and OO and OH and things like that, and then they have to take a diction class. And it's so easy, and it's so wonderful to just teach them the basic IPA symbols. How many of you have done that? Put IPA up around your room. Cool, cool. Does it work? Yes. It works. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Now, I want to do an exercise. Can we start back at D flat? And open up your hand up. Open up your hand up. And it's the second page. We've just worked on a few vowels, not a lot. We'll do more in the morning, I promise. Tomorrow we'll do more. Stay standing. It's the one warming up together. Second page. Second page of warming up together. The back page. The back side. The back side. Now, here's another thing with consonants. Teaching with voiced and unvoiced consonants. So let's do D flat. Go up the scale, please, using the voiced consonant. Go down the scale, just using the unvoiced one. Now, obviously, going down the scale, Chris is going to be playing. By the way, this is Chris. We're going to go up with a voiced consonant on like the first one. So we're going to boop, 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 and the corresponding boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. So the kids start realizing, oh, wait a minute, that's a voiced consonant, that's an unvoiced consonant, and how much air it takes to do the unvoiced. Okay, so let's try it. 1 and 2, and ready, here we go. Do it again. On the top, change the beat. Ready, and go. How was that? D, do, and V. One more. Back down. Do that one again. Shaw uses sustain. How many of you worked with Robert Shaw? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The late Robert Shaw was, like one of our choral gods, yeah. And it's probably the most frightening thing in my life was preparing choruses for Mr. Shaw when I was in Cincinnati. And because the good thing is he sends you a score that's immaculately marked. But the bad thing is when he arrives, he expects every one of those to be done, and that's a little frightening and scary. But one of the things he uses is this minor third. So let's use a minor third. Let's use this E flat and G flat. And so sopranos and tenors sing the G flat, and the altos and basses sing the E flat. Can we do that again? Okay, ready? And we're just going to go on. Ready? And repeat it. And you know what? He said, We just spent a lot of money. But I taught at that school for 3 years, went and did graduate work with Robert Page at Carnegie Mellon University. I also studied with Robert Page and did orchestral conducting at that school. And then I came back to Iowa and taught 4 years at a high school only in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Iowa, which is where northern Iowa is, University of Northern Iowa. And that was before I taught in Vienna at a private school. So lots of secondary teaching before the collegiate stuff. But I do know this, is that raising half step was a real challenge for my students. Now let's do this. Let's do some listening for vocal overtones. Let's do the open fifths again, and let's do it on E flat again. I love E flat. Okay? And I'd like you on your hand, if you see this, we're going to start with move. And take your hand, and we're going to do more of this hand sign stuff tomorrow, but we'll do just these three. I want you to pull it this way, take a nice breath, and go move on that chord. Go. Sopranos at the top. And tenors on the top, too. No third. Just open fifth. Good. Take a breath when you need it. Change it to roll. Listen. Listen. Now roll. Do you hear the overtones in the room? Can you do it in the room again? Ready? Listen. Here we go. Breathe. Sopranos and tenors out. There we go. Now float in. Go. Good. Take a breath when you need it. But listen. Here's the pull. Now listen in the room. High school and junior high kids just eat that up. Makes them really, oh, wait, who's that singing that really high note? It happened to me in high school when I heard Nordic choir for the first time. They did the cello with vocalises with the men, with a soprano, string bass, and a piano. And the soprano was doing high Ds and all that stuff. The men were underneath singing ooh and oh. And I was sitting in the audience and I could hear all the overtones in the church. And I was going like, wait a minute. And I kept looking at the women, kept going up, you know, like, and they're just standing there in the rows, holding hands. The beat. And I was like, it was almost ventriloquism. And then I realized, and I went up and asked Mr. Noble, I said, were the women singing the night? He goes, no. And he said, but I kept hearing these high notes. He goes, well, those are overtones. And I went like, cool, I want to go to this school. So at this point, it was wonderful. Scales for hand signs. Ready? Here we go. Put us in G flat. Ready? Here we go. Solfege, up and back. Ready? Solfege, chromatic hand signs. Now, there's two or three different ways of doing this. Don't you hate it when the Kodai people can't agree? Ready? This is what I do. Stop. Some of you are being what I call like warriors. It's like kind of like this. Stand and you go. I know how to do this. Don't ding. No, light it up. Okay. If you want to be assertive, just do it like. But the sound still is free. Ready? Yeah. This is a listening exercise. Here we go. Smaller fish. cooperation. You are a multi-dexterous frisbee thrower, and you're going to go. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2. Which one? This is your right hand. Okay, 1, 2. And let's do it with an H in front of it. He, he, 1, 2. Ready? Here we go. It's sopranos. Ready? 1, 2, ready? Here we go. Articulation. How do you want this articulated? Okay? so what do you think? Is it legato? Is this legato? Should it be really legato? What does it say in the score? Spirited. It says spirited. Okay, here we go. Ready? Start beginning again. 1, 2, 3, and go.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Unfortunately. Hallelujah, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Unfortunately. Oh, my brother, won't you come with me? Oh, my sister, you must come today. Oh, my brother, won't you come with me? For the devil might come and take you away. For you get to Jubilee. Hallelujah, 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 for Jubilee. Hallelujah.
1, 2, 3, and 4. Come on. Da, 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 da.
I sing because I'm happy.
I sing because I'm free. Ready and up. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Guys, we're gonna walk.
I sing because I'm happy.
This is what this whole thing's about. I sing because I'm free. 2, 3, spread out. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I sing,
Yes, I sing.
because I'm happy. 1 and 2 and 3.
I sing. Yes, I sing.
Because I'm free. 2, 3, 4.
His eye is on the sparrow. I sing. Yes, I sing.
Isn't Dr. Copley fabulous? Roger and I were rocking out over there in that last one. We had a great time. Thanks. Roger was taking us to church in the corner. It was amazing. Before we go any further, I want to be sure that I introduce you to our wonderful pianist and he's more than an accompanist, he's a pianist. Wonderful artist. I got to meet Chris Luthi when he was the principal accompanist at Long Beach State. He worked with Dr. Talbert for years, and I've always been amazed with his artistry at the keyboard and his incredible ability to read anything. I mean, he's an amazing man with a variety of styles. So can we give a big round of applause? Chris left us to move up north, and I think we're still in Morning, right, Jonathan?
I'm back.
Oh, you're back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. You made my day. That's fantastic. Well, I assumed because you got married, something was going to happen. And congratulations, by the way. Since 1985, I'm reading this now. It has been the privilege of California ACDA to recognize an outstanding choral director in our state who is retired from full-time conducting. The prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award given to this conductor is named in honor of Dr. Howard S. Swan, who is known as the Dean of American Choral Directors. Howard Swan's life spanned almost the entire 20th century. It's nearly impossible to overemphasize the far-reaching effects of his artistic command, powerful personality, and humanitarian spirit. How many of you in this room were touched by Howard Swan directly? I can tell you indirectly, just reading Bill Mays read and a lot, which is wonderful, and reading his books and reading his articles changes the way that we think about teaching and about choral music, and he still informs our pedagogy today. It's the most prestigious award given by California ACDA. And it's my pleasure today to be able to present the award to my mentor, Dr. William Dinning. So to do that, I invited my friend and colleague, Dr. Buddy James from Cal State East Bay, who also, he and I are very passionate about our education we received from Bill, and I invited him to do this with me. Would you welcome Buddy James to the stage? Good. We're going to start by telling you that, that Dr. Dinning got his undergraduate degree at UCLA, and I had an opportunity to study, which is funny because we all know where he ended up, right? But he loved that program. He got to study with Roger Wagner and Paul Solomonovich while he was there, and heard lots of wonderful stories about his time at UCLA. And then he completed his master's and his doctoral work at the University of Southern California under the leadership of Dr. Charles Hurt. Bill's first teaching job was at Northern Michigan University, and he was there for up in the Upper Peninsula. He was there for 2 years. Oh, I know it's 2 years. He was there for 2 years, and then years. Yeah, when we talk about Michigan, you have to say 2 years. But he was there for 2 years, at which time he accepted the position director of choral activities, they called it at that time, at the University of the Pacific. And he was there for 20 years. 20 years. How many UOP students of Dr. Dinning are in the room? Lots of hands going up. And the Pacific Music Camp. Yeah, there are lots of hands at the Pacific Music Camp. After that, we all know that Bill went to the University of Southern California, and he ended his career at the University of Southern California. He retired in 2007 for making a great impact on the choral culture of the entire nation and the world.
During his career, which was loaded with honors,
I'm going to read a few of those honors that he received, and you're going to see what an impact he had on the profession. And most importantly, as I read these, you're going to see what an impact he had on the students that he taught. In terms of, and this is not all, this is a highlighted list of some of his honors. In terms of representing choral music at the regional or national level at ACDA conventions, he had choirs perform at divisional conventions in 72, 78, 90, 94, 96, 98, 2000, 2002, and 2004. And his choirs made 4 appearances at national conventions, 91, 97, 2001, and 2005. In his positions, he was recognized with the highest honors that he could have received. At UOP, in 1991, he received the Distinguished Faculty Award and was asked to be the commencement speaker. The commencement speaker for UOP in 1991. What an honor. He was a prize winner at the International Choral Competition in Varna, Bulgaria, where the choir won first prize and he won the Best Conductor prize. Also a prize winner in Tours, France. And at USC, he was the recipient of the first annual Dean's Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2003, and the recipient of the Thornton School's highest honor, the Rainbow Music Faculty Award, in 2007. A partial list of the awards that this man has received during his distinguished career.
Dr. Denning's also written a number of articles, but I think I love the commandments, which are hysterical and brilliant. But I also love his book, Chorus Confidential. Have you read this book, Chorus Confidential? Honestly, it's a really great read. You should look at it. It's hysterically funny, but also full of incredible information and lots of tips and wonderful things. He's also written a book called A Matter of Choice, and it's talking about his ideas for interpretation. He's a master of interpreting scores, variety of time periods and composers, and it's really fantastic looking at some of his favorite repertoire and his hints for performing it in his way.
I'd like to take a brief moment to tell you why I studied with Dr. Denning. And thinking back on this, when Rob called and said that he had won the award, I thought back about my relationship with him, and I realized we have our 20th year anniversary this year, Bill. I started studying with you in 1995 in August. So I remember as a young graduate student trying to figure out what to do with my life. I decided, I couldn't get a job that I wanted after my master's degree, and I did what any graduate student does who can't get a job. They stayed in school. And at the time, I looked all around the country at programs. I went to every major program and looked at them, and I auditioned at 4. And USC was my final stop. And I kind of wanted to stay in Southern California, but I have to be honest, I did not know Dr. Denning's work at the time. I knew the institution, I didn't know Dr. Denning. So I went up and I observed, and I was floored. And I knew after observing him that I had to study with him. And there were 3 things that floored me from my one observation with him. The first was his musicianship, which you'll see a little bit of tonight. And Rob mentioned the 12 commandments. I have one of them on my wall in my office that I see every day when I leave. And it's, "Thou shalt know and love thy score with all thy soul and all thy mind." And all of the tricks and tools of the trade that we learn, in reality, and he says this, it's all secondary if you don't know and love the music. And I saw that immediately. The second thing that struck me, which is pretty unique with him, and he's mastered it, is his demeanor. Now, I came from great teaching line. My teachers were wonderful. But my teachers were all of a similar sort in that they were fiery, and they would lose their temper. Edie mentioned Bob Page. I know Bob Page. Oh, dear God. I thought that's what it was. You throw things at your choir to motivate. And I come into a rehearsal with this man, and he didn't raise his voice. He spoke clearly and loudly enough for people to hear, but he never raised his voice, unless he felt that raising his voice would elicit a certain response with the choir. I had never seen that. And we live in the land of the big egos, right? Think back to then. And this is not a slight, because as I said, I had wonderful teachers, but these people who ruled by ego. Bill never ruled by ego. He ruled by the music that was in front of him. And I didn't know how to handle that, and I wanted to learn it, because my arsenal was the fire and brimstone that I had learned prior. And the final thing, you had mentioned Howard Swan and this award, the final thing that I learned from just watching it the first time was about sound. All of our lives we go through, and you hear about Mr. X's sound or Mrs. Y's sound. I heard that choir, and I knew right away it was so-and-so. In that one rehearsal, I heard not William Denning's sound, I heard Mozart's sound. And I heard Beethoven's sound and the different composers that they were working on. And I had heard and read Dr. Swan or Mr. Swan talk about that, but I had never until that day in 1995 in the spring had I heard a choir actually put that into practice the way he did. And I'm proud to say that I started studying with you in 1995. I'm proud to say that I'm still studying and learning from you. And we talked at the beginning about giving money so that in the names of our mentors and honor of our mentors, I just want to publicly say, Bill, I love you in front of everyone. And as my mentor and teacher and now friend, you've impacted my life greatly, and as a result, the lives of all of my students and the people that I've touched. So, thank you.
So I'm going to share a personal story, but we really want to hear from Bill, don't we? You don't want to hear me yak all night long. Buddy, that was just beautiful. Thank you. I decided I wanted to go study with Bill after I had gone to an intercollegiate festival, and the University of Southern California, the USA Chamber Singers, got up onto the risers, they looked great. And Bill got up and they performed flawlessly selections from the Martin songs of Barrow. It was very complicated music. And I couldn't believe the sound, I couldn't believe the precision, I couldn't believe how musical it was. And I sat there and I said, I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to do that. And I was nervous because the kind of music making that was happening really intimidated me. And I didn't know what to make of it, but I went to Bill and I said, I want to study with you, and I auditioned. I said, this is it. This is the place I want to go. I want to go here for my doctoral studies. I want to learn how to do that. I said, plus you have long arms and I have long arms, and I'm always out of control and I need help. And he looked at me and goes, I know, Rob. You're totally out of control. Thanks for helping me fix it. But two little tiny, along with two personal stories. The first story is I started studying with Bill in 2001 in August. And it was at that time that the September 11th attacks happened. Let's turn on. Welcome to middle school, everybody. At that time, the September 11th attacks happened. We didn't know what to do. And Bill sent out a phone call. Can you hear me? If I just talk like this, can you hear me? I thought I was using the right mic. They're all falling apart. They're all falling apart. This one is not. That one's on. Is this thing on? Okay, everybody, sorry. we got together that day. And Bill pulled out Ned Warren's "We Are the Music Makers." He said Warren, right?
No.
What was that?
That was, oh, it was.
It was Warren.
Sorry.
Yeah. We Are the Music Makers. And he said, "I'm sorry to call rehearsal today, but I just had to see you." And he said, "I just needed to make music with you." And we talked and we sang. And it was a moment, I don't know if you know this, but he helped reinstill hope in all of us that day. And it was incredibly moving for me. But there's so many stories about Bill in my life. But I'll tell you, I had a crazy piano teacher. I was a piano performance major, and I remember I had to read these Bach chorales in 4 clefs. Did you ever have to do that? And if I made a mistake, corporal punishment was actually imposed upon me. And then I had to play the inventions, and I just hated it. And everything about Bach, I hated. I know. I promise there's a happy ending. At one of the first things that we sang together, Bill, was the Bach singing to Him. And Bill made that music come alive inside of my heart and inside of my head more than I had ever imagined that it would. And he completely changed my life. And to this day, I can't get enough Bach, Bill. And I want you to know that every time that I open a score of Bach, which I get to do a lot, I think about you all the time. And I want you to know that you have made such an important impact in my life as an artist and as a musician, and you will always be there. Every time that a major work of Bach and I come into contact, I'll always think of you. And I always think, what would Bill do? God, it always sounded so good. What would he do? And sometimes I have the answers. And other times I just have to figure it out. And I know that many of us have had that experience with Bill. Do you remember in the Los Angeles Convention, his performance on the finale? I was sitting with Jonathan. We were weeping. I didn't get to sing in that choir, darn it. Shauna, you got to do that. And I was sitting there, and you did, Aaron, and I was weeping. I just thought, this is the most perfect Bach I've ever heard in my life. In my life. If you want to know about Bach, you learn from Bill. And so, Bill, because of your artistry, because of your career in teaching, because of who you are as a musician, because of what you have been to our profession, we at California ACDA want to honor you with our highest award. And so it's our pleasure, buddy, and my pleasure, on behalf of the Board of Directors and all the past presidents of California ACDA, to present you with the Howard Swan Award.
Down, please.
The stool's not in order. very lucky man in a lot of ways. One of them was having 3 really superb ministers to work for. Only 3. I worked for 5, 3 of them were good. That's not bad. That's not bad. And one was terrific. And one of the sermons that I remember the most was about being deserved. You know, he said, you know, I hear this all the time. Well, you deserve it. No, you don't. You don't deserve anything. And even if you've worked for it, there's nothing that says that you deserve that and you don't. Nothing that says it at all. That it's a matter of blind luck and hard work. Maybe both. You know. And he said, so don't be too proud if you achieve something, and don't give up if you didn't achieve it. Keep working and be proud of what you can do. And be a little bit forgiving of yourself for what you can't do. It was a hard lesson to learn because we always like to think that if good things come our way, we deserve them. We don't. We don't. And the good part of that is if life sucks at the moment, we don't deserve that either. So I learned a lot about that, and this is of course the capstone of a career for me. And I can still do it, but I'm less patient than I was, and I prefer working with a chorus that knows me well rather than flash in the pan. You all know what I'm talking about. And so it's hard to do because it's hard to get a chorus together nowadays. Everybody's so very busy, and I don't have the energy to do that anymore. And it's a good thing because the younger people need chances to do good stuff and to make their mark in their own way. I'm glad that they can do that. You know, I was doing a thing recently, and I heard this wonderful this wonderful commercial came on, and the person said, "What do we want?" I said, "Better memory." "When do we want it?" "Want what?" That's not funny. It's sad. You know, people have said, well, the memory's kind of going. Yeah, it is. I remember the commercial was not. Yeah, it is. And I asked one doctor that I saw, one head shrink, that I went to about my head. They've taken pictures of it, and they looked at the pictures and said, no, they don't know him, that 10 fewer years on his body would help, And he said, I said, well, what can I do to sharpen my memory or to make it, to keep it better? He said, don't die. So I'm doing my best to stay alive. Sometimes I wonder about the reason why. Usually I don't, because I've been very lucky throughout my career for a lot of reasons, and this is as I said, the capstone of it. And to be presented such an award by 2 of the finest students I've had. 2 of the finest I've had. And they're incredible people, as you can tell. Rob and Buddy are among the best, and of course, so is the young woman sitting over there, among the best. I'm so lucky to have worked with bright students. They keep us sharp, as you know. If you teach, you understand that. And I do want to say this. So often we want to be understood. So we try to make it simpler. And I'm going to preach a little bit here. Don't make it simpler. Don't do that. Teach to your sharpest kids. Teach to the smartest kids. Get their eyes. And if Robbie over here is falling asleep, you just forget that. Okay? You teach to the one whose eyes are on you and then listen to you. And you can tell that they're getting it. I've always believed that. And yeah, okay, sometimes you do leave some in the dust. You do. Life is that way. I wouldn't let it in the dust. Too many times to count. What was the joke? I already told that. That's that one. Yeah, okay. I'm very grateful for this award, and I don't know that I deserve it any more than anybody else. We already talked about deserving. I don't think that I do. I worked hard, and I can point to anybody in this room who works just as hard as I do. And I hope that you're as lucky as I have been, because I certainly cannot complain, and you won't hear me complain ever. Okay? Thank you so much for this. We're going to sing some Brahms, okay?
The second piece in your book.
This is one of my favorite Brahms pieces. The Mark is in mine, and you'll see that I often circle notes the singers miss, in the hope that maybe you won't. And I guess in a way, I didn't make a speech for tonight. I'll tell you why. Because I don't make speeches. I make lesson plans, and then I give the lesson. So I don't have a speech for you. And I thought, well, then I can give you a lesson plan. Listen, turn to the second page, measure 13 in the front. Edie, by the way, if Edie doesn't know it, you don't need to know it either. Okay? When I saw what she was doing, I thought, what's left for me to do? I let you know that this is the A section on page 3 there. What I've done here is, because it's a difficult piece, I let myself know what the key is in each measure, so that I can hear it correctly, and which voice has the theme in that key. In measure 13, it's the sopranos who have it, and it's in D. Okay? In measure 14, it's the altos, and it's in A. And in 15, it's the tenors, and it's G minor. And then finally, at the bottom of the page, it's D major, and it's the basses. That helps me. I don't think it helps the basses at all. I'm not sure what does help. I always manage through the course of a year to make fun of every section, one way or another. LA's of course perfect. They're perfect. They sit there and they do their nails, waiting for everybody else to catch up. The tenors are free. And the basses don't know what they are. And the sopranos are just sopranos. That's all. Okay. Oh yes. Measure 13. That's for D. That's why with A there. And I let you know in the small letters the key that it's in, the key that each theme is in, so that you can read it better. I did this for me to make sure I could hear it, okay? To make sure that I was hearing it correctly. And that's why it's there. This is the hardest part, so let's skip that. Let's go to page, to measure 36. As I let you know there, this is the D section. Not getting on that key. And then measure 36. Well, how about that? You know, as we get older, we men acquire more estrogen. And as you women get older, you acquire more hair on your chin. That's from testosterone. And as we men get older, we lose our testosterone. We start talking like assholes and sopranos. See? Okay. Measure 36. Oh, teacher. See if you can do it then. 2, 3, 1. I'm half German. So I consider myself a pretty good interpreter of music. And I take a guitar here in measure 76. See if you can hear whether I hit it for melodic reasons or harmonic reasons. There's always a reason. In this case, it's not text. We've heard the text before and not slowing down for that reason. See if you can tell why. Let's start at measure 71. No, 69, tenors. Is that not a lovely feeling? Oh my. You have my copies, don't you? Yes. So it says full, so it says sing tenors. 2, 3, 4. Measure 126. Hold it through, tenors. Hold it through. The piano will help your crescendo. Listen to it. 2, 3. That's lovely. That's lovely. Let's sing one that you may not know as well. Very like Walters. It's on page. I don't know what page that is. It's not in 4/4, 2. What an easy. 2, 3, 4. two little pieces that they're going to move out in this moment. Wait, I'll do the choral conducting for you, okay? We'll do it from 1959. It's going. Now I'll play choral conducting. 3, 4, 1. Probably not the way to end. Okay, that piece is, I think, my favorite Renaissance piece. And there are a lot of beautiful Renaissance pieces that you know. This is my favorite. I absolutely love this piece. Not sure why. The text, yeah. I like what the composer developed the text, especially if Dolce Vita. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I've done quite a bit, as you can see from the marks all over. And every voice mistake is in there, it's been marked. Most of it. Okay, what should we do now? 5 minutes? Are you guys ready for Bach? We need more time for Bach, and that's tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow, no problem. You're not going to get out of here without doing Bach. Forget it. It's going to happen. I think. Not really. See. Dormido dolcemente. Ready? Double choir. Choir on? Choir 2? Done. That was easy. Okay. Observe all the little marks. Imagine. You didn't observe the little marks. You must do it. You must get softer measure the third measure. Why? We'll do it again. You tell me why. That's why. The Beatles did that. That harmony right there is Beatles. Listen next time. The Beatles got done on Gabrielle. Last night. That was lovely. Lovely. That's how it goes. One again. goes over Gandhi, that's the squiggle. Gandhi. Where to start? You will not find a more beautiful dog for all these things. If you do, let me know. Measure 25, top of the page.